Hey everybody, JR from MyTechNet here. And today we're going to go over one of the newest scripts that I wrote, which I'm calling the installTAK, or a universal TAK server installer. So over the last few weeks to months, I've been working on this to make TAK server deployments as easy as I can get them. And I targeted it towards the RPM, the dev, and the zip. So getting all those three, I've been able to do some testing on a couple operating systems, as well as incorporating the public certificate authority Let's Encrypt. So if you want to, you can head to mytechnet.com and look under one of the newest articles, Universal TAK Server Installer, or going down to the Team Awareness Kit TAK topic and finding it there. Additionally, the code is hosted on GitHub. So it's fairly open, simple shell script. And you can see I've tested it on Rocky, Ubuntu, Docker, Photon OS, which is a VMware variant for Docker, as well as Raspberry Pi, currently the version or Model 5 with the 8 gigs of RAM. So one of the prerequisites is downloading, obviously, the TAK server software. So if you don't have an account or just don't know what TAK is, go to tak.gov, register for an account. What you want to do is you want to go to Products and TAK Server if you're not already there. And some files we're going to need is we're going to need this TAK Server public GPG key for one, as well as your target installation. So either the Docker release.zip, the RHEL, Rocky, and CentOS installer, and the RPM, as well as the Debian format for your Raspberry Pi and Ubuntu. If you're doing this on a Raspberry Pi or Ubuntu, ensure that you download the policy file. So what I've done is I've already done that and downloaded that. So I'm going to head back over here, and within this directory, I've already downloaded those prerequisites. So what I want to do is we're going to do a demo. We're going to do a couple demos within this video, hopefully. Is we're going to first do a Rocky RPM installation and then move on to a Docker and Raspberry Pi. So first thing first is we're going to need to copy the RPM and the key to our host. And ensure that we place that in a directory. So if you're not familiar with copying SCP, you can use WinSCP, but I like to do it via the command line. So we're going to do our command SCP, the source file name, which in this case is the RPM, and then destination, which is our username at IP address. And then by putting a colon, we're saying where within that host. So if you use a little squiggly line or whatever it's called, that's going to be the home directory of that current user. And then the / is just basically saying place there. So I do that. Go ahead, enter the password, and let that copy. And once that's done, we're going to want to copy this next. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-stage that host name. And once that's done, we'll go ahead and copy the next file over. Oops. And now that we have that, let's go ahead and get into our host. So this is a newly installed Rocky operating system. And I just did an update and upgrade to it. So to verify, let's go ahead and clear our screen. And we're going to view the release information. So it is, as you can see, a Rocky Linux 8.10 on there. So once we're in here, Rocky does not have Git by default, so we need to install that. So we're going to do sudo dnf install git and go ahead and let that run. While that is running in the background, I'm going to go back to my browser and copy the git command. So if we go to the GitHub page for installTAK, we're going to copy this first line right here and then head back to our prompt. And now that that is done, we can also, one, verify that our files we copied there are right there. I copied this earlier, so I can go ahead and remove that. Server 5 police, and then I'm going to paste this. And what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to change directory into the installTAK, and we're going to copy or move the attack server installation, which is basically that RPM and key. So do so, copy // for the previous directory, attack server, and I'm just going to copy everything, space, and a period. So it's going to copy it here. If I prove that, I can verify that. Another thing you want to do is we're going to verify that the installTAK is actually executable. So you could do a ls-l and ensure that it is executable. Otherwise, you can do a chmod plus h or x installTAK. Now that we have done that, let's go ahead and see what options we have. So as you can see, expected script usage and examples have been given here. And let's go ahead and do our install. So I'm going to do an up arrow, and I'm going to copy the install RPM right here, and go ahead and execute. So this is going to run through 8 steps. It's going to do the prerequisite, basically ensuring that the attack server is compatible. It's going to install Java, extra packages for Linux, and other requirements such as Postgres for that. Once that is done, we will then be presented into the TAK wizard. All right. Once installation has been completed, we're going to get to our wizard. Right now, since I released it Thanksgiving out here in the US, where I am going to keep it as the alpha release to see if I get any bugs from out in the public or out in the wild. Probably around, I'll give it another month or so, around January, February timeframe. I may push it to a beta or I may push it to a final release. But basically, the keys, arrow keys, and tab and enter are what you're going to use. So we can go ahead and press enter. And for this, we're going to go ahead and enter our CA information. If you're familiar with building an attack server, this is equivalent to you editing that cert metadata file. So we're going to go ahead and fill this out. If you have spaces in the name of your city or state, this will accept that too as well. Oops. And TAK, we're going to go ahead and press enter. Do you want to change the default password? Again, if you're familiar with the cert metadata file, if you change the password, you can do so here. Otherwise, for these demos, I'm going to go ahead and keep it to default for simplicity. For the root certificate authority, you can either leave this blank or you can type something in. So in this example, I'll just go ahead and type something in for now. And the next one, I'm going to leave blank, just so you can see that randomly generated name. After that, it's going to ask you, do you want to enable auto enrollment? Auto enrollment is basically just a configuration in which you create a username and password and pass those credentials to your TAK client or your end users. Additionally, with that, you need to pass the trusted public certificates in order for the client to trust the TAK server. So I find this to be a lot easier than manually creating a client certificate and passing the two certs. But what this will additionally do is create the data package. So if I go ahead and enable certificate on enrollment, it will create the data package already, so that all you need to do is pass that data package and credentials to your end user. Another option is if you want to do TAK server connections or federations. For this demo, I'm going to not do a TAK server to TAK server federation. However, I will just keep this as yes or no. If I hit yes, it's going to configure the server to accept connections as long as you've passed the CAs and the other prerequisites. Otherwise, if you hit no, it's not going to open up the ports. It's not going to enable the configuration. So in this demo or lab, I'm just going to hit no. You're going to be presented with a summary. So within that, you can verify everything is correct. As you see, the randomly generated name, it will append CA01, or in the case of root, it will append root CA01, so that it's easily identifiable for troubleshooting. FIPS, I have not enabled or added into the script. Because certain devices don't support FIPS. So I will add that later on after a little bit of ensuring that the switches are done, but I will just leave that off. Now, if you hit Reset Wizard, it'll go through that process all over again. Otherwise, we can hit Confirm to begin the post-installation tasks. Those tasks are basically creating your PKI environment. So we're doing a two-tiered PKI, meaning we're going to have a root certificate authority and an issuing certificate authority. After that, it's going to issue our server certificate and then begin the TAK server services starting. Now, depending on your what hardware that you are using, these are virtual machines. So within my environment, I've given it the bare minimum, 8 gigs of RAM and 4 CPUs. Yours may vary, especially if you're using a cloud environment, but it will go as fast as the resources you give it. Excuse me. Now this description is basically what the TAK server is going to be presented to the end user. So when they actually go into and have the server added, it's going to have the description. So in this case, I'll just put my TechNet demo, or I'll put Rocky just so that this is the Rocky Linux one. Otherwise, it could be whatever you want. The other option is if this server supports fully qualified domain connections. If it does not, you can go ahead and hit no. Otherwise, if you do, you have the option to do a local or request a Let's Encrypt certificate. For this first example, I'm just going to go ahead and put no. However, in the next example, I will put yes. Throughout my testing, I kind of used up all of my Let's Encrypt tokens, so I have to wait in order to request another host certificate. So I'm just going to put no. And that is going to go ahead and create the web admin and assign it the administrator. The web admin will be the default for everybody, so that is how you will be managing the TAK server. So if I go ahead and list that, it's going to be blank. I actually need to go back, and we will see that our enrollment, data package, and web admin P12 has been passed. So same thing with our Docker host. What we need to do is, let me remove that web admin, and we're going to SCP the zip. Now for the Docker host, this is all you need. And this one's going to be root, and let's go ahead and copy it there. And once we've done that, let's go ahead and SSH into that guy. SSH. And you can see, obviously, this is a Photon. This is going to be a VMware. So let's go ahead and list our thing. Let's go back to our browser and copy this. I want to say Photon has Git by default, but let's find out. Let's just do a Git. No. So for Photon, you actually have to do tdnf install Git, and let's ensure. Okay. So let's go ahead and do Git. And just like before, we're going to cd into that directory, verify that it is executable, and then I'm going to copy that TAK server here. Again, let's view our options. Hasn't changed. And let's go ahead and select this zip file. If all goes well, this should enable Docker as well as do the other prerequisites. Again, with the wizard, we're going to do the same thing. And in this case, I'm going to leave these blank to make it go faster. I'm going to keep the defaults yes for both the auto enrollment and federation. And just like I said, the root CA01 is going to be identified here. Let's go ahead and confirm. All right. After the containers are done, it's going to go ahead and deploy them. So it's going to deploy the TAK server database as well as the actual TAK server core. After that, it's going to do the PKI piece. So doing your certificates as well as the server certificate. After that, it needs to restart the TAK server container once it's done all that to actually apply it and make sure those settings are good. All right. Same thing as before. Let's go ahead and do Docker TAK server. And for this one, let's do a fully qualified domain name. So during the break, I created a DNS record as well as did some port forwarding within my network. Let's try this again. All right. So we're going to copy this to our Raspberry Pi. So we need the Debian, the TAK server key, as well as the policy. So let's go ahead and SCP our Debian or Deb TAK Pi. And we're going to drop it to our downloads. Downloads or download? Now that is done, let's go ahead and copy the other two files. Make everything quicker. Let's go ahead and do this. And next one is this policy file. And for this, let's go into our remote session. So as you can see, the files are here. And what we need to do is copy the git command. So I had a browser open already. Let's go ahead and copy that. I may edit this README to make that a second command later. I believe that Raspberry Pi has Git installed by default. Yes. All right. Oops, let's do this. Well, let's do it anyway. So instead of installing it in my downloads, I put it in the root directory, which is fine. It'll get deleted later if you have saw the other demos. Let's go ahead and copy downloads, and let's just copy everything. Here, let's see if it'll let me do that. Looks like it did. All right. So let's go back to downloads and make sure that I can execute the script, which I should be able to. And let's go ahead and install our Debian package. Make it easier. Let's do this and then copy that. All right, there we go. So same thing. Let's go through the setup process. I'm going to keep this to the defaults just to make it go by faster and confirm. One additional thing based on server resources within the Raspberry Pi. This is actually using a submodule within my Git to use the TAK systemd scripts that Talented Brute. If you actually go here, you will see that I am borrowing his scripts or services in order to start the TAK server a little bit faster. So within that, it's starting those 3 services that are called out on a script, and then from there, it will continue on. All right, so this one I'm going to put our Pi TAK server. I'm going to say yes to FQDN. Let's encrypt. And what we're going to do is already allowed our connection. Let's try this again. TAK server TAK demo.myteknet.com support@myteknet.com. Let's go ahead and confirm. There we go. All right. Everything goes well. I should get a certificate back and the rest of it get configured. After it gets done with the Let's Encrypt, it's going to restart the TAK server again. We'll create our web admin. And while it's doing that, we should be able to refresh this. Oh, did I not put HTTPS? Yes, I did. All right. Let's see. It might be taking some extra time. While that's going, let's go ahead and install the certificate. All right, settings. Let's do cert. Security. Manage certificates. Let's import. It's actually in our home directory. Let's do our password. Verify it's there. Now let's go to HTTPS. Localhost 843. Good. So it is started. Let's go ahead and proceed. Log in. That is good. Let's go ahead and restart this. And there we go. You can see that it is secure and it has a valid certificate from Let's Encrypt. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any issues, please submit an issue. Otherwise, I'll continue to do some testing on my own and keep looking for updates.